Thanks for checking in for another episode. And today we have Patrick of JD Oil Company in Germany. And he's got lots of experience with the German scene over time. And thanks for coming out to join us, Patrick. It's great to get your insight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And it's like, yeah, we know each other quite a while. So
Yeah,
let's have a chat on where we're
exactly.
standing at the moment and what happened because we haven't seen each other for a long time now.
That's right. No, we first met in Santa Marta, right?
Yep.
And And then that was the only time we'd met in person was hanging
Yeah.
there. And then we've had a few calls and kept in touch since then. And I've always been interested hearing what you're doing and your advancements because you're doing your own breeding, but you also work in the import business and you have lots of insight into evolution. I know in Germany they had hemp, then they had medical, and now they have some semblance of adult use. And it's an ongoing process. There's incremental gains, and so it's the time lapse from hemp to adult use isn't overnight. It can take decades. These things we saw the same progress in Canada like that
Yep.
too, where it's sort of one decade you get this, the next decade you get that. If you're pulling, if you're pulling maybe a couple decades in between, even. So yeah, it's crazy. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll let you take over and tell us about it.
Yes, in every country, it's the same thing. It's like they're doing the same procedures and they're going through the same things. And at the end, sadly, they're not learning from each other and they're doing the same mistakes. It's like, yeah, it's like yesterday was my birthday, by the way. I turned 50, and it started when I was 13. I got my first. I was starting DJing back in the days. My brother still had to go to the club with me when I was like doing the before the main act. I was doing like the opener, and when I was 13, so I was in the club scene quite early in my life. And with that, I got in touch with of course, cannabis, and it helped me a lot. Like to get stay focused and everything, like different than most of my friends were which just got stoned. And back in the days, it was more like the people had you didn't get flour at that time, so it was all hash. It's like because it was imported from mainly Morocco or one of the other good producing countries. Um, And so it was mainly hash when I was young that was on the market. And so, well, I want to smoke the flower because I got the opportunity when I was came over to Amsterdam and to like smoke flower. And I love the taste of the flower and I like the plant itself. So that's when I started. That's why I started growing with 13 because I couldn't get it. So I had to do it myself. And that's what happened over the years, all over and over again. And yeah, it was back in the days. It was still totally illegal, and I was in the traditional market at that time as well. Started when I was 14, and then like got arrested first before, but like did the first jail when I was 20, and then a second time a few years later, and then but since then, thank God, um, haven't got went to jail again. And from there, it's like one day we got busted again with a grow. Like we had about 30, 40 plants at home, which is for the part of Germany where I live in Bavaria. Um, you get quite sentenced quite a long time for that. But I was lucky because it got pushed to another court, and so I just had to pay a fine. And that was the time when I said, okay, I have to leave this country. So I went over to Amsterdam. I worked in Amsterdam like 5 years. And then I was running a club over in on the Canaries. And right in 2016, when my dad passed on cancer, I looked deeper into the medical side of it because I got the same issues like my dad had with the esophagus. So I'm in his footprints. And with that, it more and more turned into okay, going deeper and deeper medical. So I did some consultings over in Canada, sourcing all over the world for various companies. And then last, I was head of cultivation in a 20-ton annual medical production and head of extraction for solventless in a pharmacy in Germany. So that's what happened over the last years. Started breeding, and yeah, right at the time when we first met.
Right
We did
on.
some small projects before, but right after that, we started to take it seriously.
Get into it more. Okay, cool.
And
Well, I forgot to say happy birthday. 50 is a
yeah,
big one, man. I
yep,
gotta say, you
thanks.
don't look a day over 60.
I got 10 years until it gets 60.
I just tease it, man. If I didn't pull your leg a little, what fun would it be, right? It's okay. But yeah, I think that's quite a story. And I think people will be wondering why you don't have a German accent.
Yes, I'm half American. Um, my dad's from West Virginia, but when I was in third grade, he was stationed in Fort Irwin, which is like when you know Barstow, which is well known, even it's not needed to be known, but it's right on the gateway between LA and Vegas. And that small village in the middle of the desert, from there, it was like another half an hour drive into the desert where my dad was stationed. And so when I was in third grade, I lived in Cali and still got a lot of American friends. And so I'm native in both countries, like the US and Germany.
Sure.
Um,
You're a real dual
yeah,
citizen. Yeah, that's for
yep,
sure.
yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. So you're going forward, you've got a little breeding project starting right behind you, you were telling me about here.
Yes, we're just doing a small, like,
Yeah.
basically the most of the work I'm doing together with my friend from Hella Seed Co. over in Santa Rosa.
Okay.
And he was the one that created the GAC and a lot of other stuff. And he's an amazing grower, and like he's doing the main work. He is what
Okay.
he's doing, and then I'm there for selections. And I just brought some project seats over from the last stuff we did, is like our LOC, which stands for loads of Skittles, which is a three-way cross of Skittles, like the original Skittles crossed with the cherry Skittles and back crossed into lemon Skittles. So it's like kind of like in very very intense sea flavor in there. And we took the male of it and pollinated a whole bunch of other good hashers to create some exotic hasher terps with a touch of Skittles in there that has a decent yield.
Fun, fun. So what are some of the ones you're crossing it into right now?
We cross it into the papaya pastries, which is one of my favorites. Then we have the honey banana. We took, and if you taste that one crossed with the C, um it's like an Asian fried banana with the honey on top. That like sweet banana taste, almost rotten banana, and added like that twitch of lemony, grapefruity, but in a creamy way, um, in the exhale of the sea. That's another one that I really like. Then we had the RS11 crossed into it, and the Moroccan peaches. So we're just doing the test washes
Yeah,
on
sounds
it,
like a hot
and
lineup, dude.
yep, and see
Uh,
where it goes.
I know you wouldn't be bothering with them if they weren't exceptional. Yeah.
No, that there we got a few phenos that we had out of. We're in the F3 at the moment, and there's some nice phenos in there that we like isolated and cross them and stabilized them, that are really like special, like, because it always has to be something special. It's like special terps and good washers. That's where I personally think where the future of cannabis goes at the moment. Like, because of the extraction is like hashers or extraction. Maybe there's Bijou coming up again at one point because it's a very clean product. Personally, I love the aroma, more fuzzy, calming, like warm aroma of a
Of the what?
rosin,
Of
huh?
rosin. Yeah, yeah, of rosin.
Compared to the BHO, which is more like the straight,
BHO.
clean, pure um, feeling. But I'm
I
open
can appreciate
for
them
all of it.
both if they're done well,
Yeah,
you
of
know.
course, of
And I
course.
know that it's not cool to appreciate solvents, but I don't care. I mean, call it like I see it. If it's delicious, right? Sometimes, but if
Honestly,
they're not done well or the gas isn't high quality, sometimes they do have like an impurity taste. So it really has to be the most exceptional. And even the I don't even think BHO because I like the propane ones too. So
yep.
or blends
The
of
mix, a blend of it.
30% protein,
Yep,
70% butane. It
yep.
does. But still, I think if I had to pick one or the other, I'd go with solventless. You know, I totally
Yep.
would.
Of course,
Even
more that
just a
warm,
really
calming
clean
feeling. It's like,
hash. Just the clean I like my favorite's clean dry sift. Like just
mm,
polished dry sift lit in a bowl. I find the vibe just works for me. Like it's always I don't know. I'm just in tune with that hash. Like when I smoke grass, I don't get as baked. When I dab extracts, I get plenty baked, you know? And the hash, it's
yep,
like I'm in the zone, you know?
yep, yep.
So
I feel you.
I can do it with little dabs too. Big dabs, I'm like, okay, I'm not
Yep,
rushing through my business day at that point. I'm just like, okay, I need a timeout for a little bit. Whereas hash, I can just keep going. Grass, I can keep going.
yep,
But
yep,
it's like a big dab will set you back for you to sit down for half an hour, turn off the phone, just like, okay, zone, get back. But anyway, yeah, that's personal preference. But the hash to me is always going to be the gold standard. If you just got the nice
yep.
clean glands, because then you can still go any way with it. If you want to press it, you can press it. If you want to roll it into a joint, you can roll it into a joint. You know,
I love
this
the fresh frozen full melt one, bubble hash. That's my
yeah.
preferred hash.
Well, I can get the same melt out of dry sift, so I
Of
just
course,
figure
of
why
course.
wash it? Why get it wet? You know, that's my point. Is I can get it just dry. You know, I think I think a lot of people have spent a lot more time on water, and that's how they know to get it clean. But I think
It's
if you've
faster.
applied equal amount of time, you can get it out. When you dry sift it, you don't have to wait till you don't have to dry the hash out afterwards. It's
Yep.
ready that
But
second.
if you have to clean it up, it's like way more work than a bubble hash.
Depends how you do it. You know, there's for me one of the tips that I've sort of seen accidentally, like just hey, this works because I was using like baking bowls or silicone bowls, empty out even just a single screen sift with that the trim bins. So
Yeah, yeah.
if I just I do it real cold, like -14 or something, out in the back porch, take pounds of bud, crush it up, dump it in there,
Yep,
and you don't have to totally crush it too hard, like you don't want to powder it, right?
yep,
But give it a good breakup. That single screen sift, if you don't scrape it out or sweep it out, you just tap the thing, thud it.
yep,
A lot of shit sticks to the plastic. So it
yep.
already comes out clean. And then
It's
I
kind
take
of
it
the
and dump
static.
it
Yeah.
into it's a passive free
Yep,
static. And then I go further with that. I do the descending baking bowls, same thing, swirl it around in there. The shit sticks to the plastic, dump it in the next one, swirl it around. It's
yep.
like I get that stuff polished in 2 minutes. Like it's
Okay.
super quick. And the
Never tried
best
it that
bowls,
way.
yeah, you can use 5-gallon buckets. Just you don't have to fill the bucket, right? You just put in 10% at the bottom and shake it up and then pour it into another bucket and shake it up. And this crap sticks to the sides. And I do it even better with the silicone bowls. The silicone, way more stuff sticks to it than
Yep,
the
yep.
plastic. So that it's the passive static everybody can do at home for free. You don't need to, like, it's super cool. I'm not taking away from
Yeah.
electrically charged anodes and diodes that
I really like those
they're
sample
pulling both.
pre-filtration things.
Yeah, they're super cool, they're super cool. But I like to just show people how they can do it at home for free, because even if you don't have both poles, you only need one pole, really, because you're still getting rid of the other stuff, and because it's separating, as long as it's
Yep.
separating your gold. And also vacuuming. And you see them, a German guy came out with an Inspector Dabbit or something, has the vacuum rings for pulling water out of the
Mm,
wet wash stuff. But I was doing that with those little palm shakers. I would change the screen in it to a 25 or 45
mm,
and then vacuum my dry sift that way. So even if it didn't go through 8 screens, like, water pulls everything out the 25 at the bottom, all the fines,
yep.
all the really fine dust. So you don't get that if you're scraping it off the table after dry sifting, right? So you can vacuum that dust out. So you can get that. It doesn't take but a few minutes to really polish dry sift, even with some easy tech, just
And when you
screens and
vacuum it,
vacuum.
you break off more stalks. If you got more stalks on the dry sift, it's another step of cleaning before you go into static.
Well, it's a fine line between how much you break up that bud going in. So I'll often do like a first pass and then a second pass. So the first pass, it almost comes out just perfect already, you know. Whereas, because you've done it super light, and not really disturb the buds that much. I would like literally just slap the bags a
Yep.
few times and then dump it on. But you got to do it deep frozen. If you're doing it at room temperature, fuck it, that's not worth it.
Yeah.
And you can get air a lot colder than water.
Yep.
And if the water didn't smell good, I wouldn't feel bad about using it. But I feel like that water just took something from me, and I
Yeah,
know there's people
it takes a
disagree, but
lot out of the water soluble terps and other volatile organic compounds. It filters it out. Of course, it's like
yeah, it does. Yeah, it strips it a little bit. The less time you have it in water and the faster you dry it out, the better, of course. And you can make absolutely sick wet hash. I'm not knocking it. I've done it. I love it too, but given, if all things being equal, I'll do it dry before I'll do it wet. If there's a
yep,
reason to do it wet, like if I'm in the tropics and I don't have -14 to work in dry, the only way I can keep it cold is in ice water. I get
yep,
it. So that for me, it's useful to use it in certain situations. But if I'm somewhere where the natural temps are cold, like Canada in the winter, and I can do it in an unheated area, it's so easy. And it's
yep,
really no tech. I don't need to build a freezer to do it. I just step out on my back porch and
yep.
abuse it and have, but anyway, I know anybody that hit a bowl of it would be totally, not disappointed.
Yeah, that's another part where I'm wondering where it's going to go in Germany. Is like since 2024 now we have that change in the law, so everybody's allowed to grow its 3 plants per person at home. Um, and controlled environment, and it has to be safe for children not to be to enter the room. Everybody has to take care of his own plants and all that shit. It's like totally overregulated, but at least we have something.
That's right. No, it's so much better than nothing.
Exactly.
Same in Canada. It's
Exactly.
4 plants a household, not per person, so it's even less,
No.
possibly, right? So it's 4 plants a household, and that's really insufficient. And
Yeah.
especially if you
So
like to have a
you can
bunch
get
of
your
flavors,
licenses, like your
like, give
micro
me a break.
licenses and all that in Canada. Uh,
Yeah,
Easy, and there's nothing like that in Germany. It's like in Germany you just can grow your own at the moment. They promised clubs, or they allowed clubs by law, and you can apply for a license to grow for a club. You're capped off at 500 members, so that's like, and each member is allowed to have 50 grams per month, so you're capped off at 25 kgs monthly, which is a nice small grow. And not handleable for everyone, but still, there's a lot of people that can handle that size of a grow or will learn pretty quickly how to manage it. And but they're going against those clubs as good as they can. They shut them down as soon as possible. They're pulling their licenses because of some. You're not allowed to open up a club within 200 meters of a kindergarten or a school or something like that. So, in one village down in Bavaria, they just made a small, like a tiny, like 5 square meter um, playground right next to a spot where a club wanted to open up, and said, "Okay, now you can't do it anymore."
It's rough. I remember you telling me about the 25 kilo rule and the 50 grams.
Yep.
A client or a member. And I thought a lot of, of course, the club's going to want members to commit to taking the full 50 grams so that they
Yep.
can plan for it. And a lot of people probably just want to buy 5 grams a month. So for
Of
them,
course.
committing to 50 is just impractical and expensive. If you only smoke 5 grams a month, you don't want to be buying 10 times that, right? So it
Yep.
is, the more the governments try and shape it, it's the more awkward it becomes. But at least there's, a fine line between being able to carry and smoke some and grow a few and absolutely none. So it's a step in the right direction, but it's never a step far enough,
Yep.
So it's always a few steps short, let's say, of getting
It should
there.
just
But
be treated like an agriculture product.
like echinacea or any other endocannabinoid
Yep.
tickler, it doesn't justify the THC phobia that we
Yep.
struggle against in the world.
I'm wondering how Switzerland is going to do it, because they're like in Europe at the moment. It's like all the countries are changing. Since January, Czech opened up, and I think they got a 3 plant rule as well, but they're allowed to have 100 grams at home. And Switzerland is about to open up, and they're thinking they can push it through by end of the year. And with that, they're like they're gonna fully open up, like stores, no clubs, because there are no clubs needed, but you can grow. I don't know. I heard something about 20 plants at home, and you're allowed up to have like up to 1 kilogram at home.
So
And
it's
they
slightly
want to
more
open up
reasonable.
stores, and they want to have like edibles, vapes, um, drinkables, like literally everything. Is like they want to really do it right.
I've been in contact with an old friend and partner back there, and he's still in the supply business. He's like a wholesaler for grow shops and head shops. So he sells the papers, he sells the lights and the rock wool and a little bit of everything. But um, I hope to have him on actually soon too.
When
He
they
may be
open up, they're
listening.
gonna allow seed sales as well. So with
Yeah,
your spice of life, you should be in Switzerland.
should be back in Switzerland. I mean, it's such a shame that they sort of went into these dark ages because it was
Yep.
so awesome there in 99 when I moved there. And it was just, I really thought, oh, the rest of the world will be like this in 10 years, where
Yep. Yep.
it was just normalized and it wasn't
Yep.
in every canton. It wasn't widely available, but in cantons where it wasn't, locally prohibited, let's say, they had it just trays of clones at the entrance to mainstream supermarkets in the spring with the Dusty Millers and, peppers and tomatoes and green onions, all these flats of bedding plants and starters. And they
Yep.
had Compolti hemp and they had great white shark and they had all, hemp section and a regular cannabis section. And the thing that to me, it was like, this is awesome. Can you believe this? And Ed and I was there with Ed, And we were both looking at it like, this is
Which Ed?
so amazing. And Ed Rosenthal.
Okay.
And so we went over there on a consulting gig together in May of '99. And and we went, we were at this big greenhouse with these three brothers owned in Stettin. They had 4 farms, and the biggest main one was in Stettin, and a large part of that was committed to the clone business. So we'd ended up going, we were just staying, it's a very small town in the Swiss German side, and we ended up going over to the supermarket to grab something. I can't remember. And we see all these plants out front. And we're just like, look at that. And they had the little plant tags that said plant full sun, good drainage, heavy feeder, mid-October, and you're just like, it's just normal. And everybody walking in and out of the supermarket walked right past them without giving them a second thought. There's nobody give a shit. It's
Yep.
really, and Ed put it that he's like, the people here are very introspective, and they're introverts, and they're only thinking about what they're doing, and they don't give a shit about what anybody else is doing. And that's really ideal, like
Yep.
people just
Of
leave
course.
each other alone. That's freedom, the tolerance of, as long as they're not stepping on your toes, leave them alone. So
Yep.
but those clones weren't hurting anybody. There was no age gate on them. Like, come on, they were just a bunch of bedding plants. And it was so normal that you thought it's going to be like this everywhere in 10 years. That's what I
Yep.
thought. And in some cantons, they were more permissive than others. But there was quite a few where it was fairly permissive, not so much in the French side, but in the Italian side, in Ticino, or in many parts of the German side. And they had the shops where they sold Duftsäckli, sacchetti profumati,
Yep. Yep.
right? And they could sell it because you just liked the smell of it, and you could buy a kilo of it because you liked the smell of it, and you could put it in your closet so your sweaters always smelled fresh. Like, that was just their way of telling the neighbors, hey, we're not Amsterdam. We don't have hash bars here. It's not legal to consume it as a drug, but we're not going to start making plants illegal because Swiss
Yep.
botanicals and Swiss botanical research is so big, and we're not going to start outlawing this plant and that plant. We just got to outlaw the uses of certain plants. So it's legal to grow any plant you want, and legal to sell it for a non-narcotic use. So you're making essential oils from it. Now they'd say terps, but at the time we used to call them essential oils, right? And you would leave like a good section of the greenhouse to be steam distilled with this old wood-fired steam distiller, and you'd literally make jars of the essential oils with each, would make varietal ones. So you get, this one would be all sweet tooth, this one would be all blockhead, or this one would be all shishkaberry. And it was really fun, to do that part of it. But at the same time, you're always cringing because you're like, oh, I can't believe I gotta throw 50 kilos into this boiler.
Yep.
But you had to do it, so it was always like paying the toll. But it was fun to have the jars and to smell the essences of them. And but I just thought it'll be like this everywhere, and of course it's not. And Switzerland went backwards, the
Yep.
Pope cracked down and all that, and it was just good Lord,
Dark ages came, but
yeah, the
the good
dark
thing
ages
about it
came.
was, like, at the same time, it was the only European country that allows CBD up to 1% of THC. So a lot of the people went over from like cannabis over to the hemp side, but they never stopped cultivating. So there's a lot of good growers over in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of them, well, not all of them, but definitely I know quite a few that switched gears and focused on CBD. When I released some CBD seed over there in 2000, we called them cream sodica, and they were shipped over from Sunshine Coast of all this, mishmash of early outdoors, which is actually the foundation of a lot of CBD lines, is out of those, early outdoor BC stuff that was many decades in crap wet weather in the Pacific Northwest. But they were early and high CBD, and nobody knew what CBD was in 2000. I couldn't give them away, like, and people that did grow them out were like, yeah, but you don't get high at all. I said, no, they're CBD plants. What's that? It was like we were just way too ahead of our time. And we ended up putting the rest of the seeds in the bird feeder. We said, fuck these
Yeah.
things. And
The
I've
horrible
hated
part
CBD ever
was
since.
like not just that it didn't get you stoned. It tastes like shit, most of them.
Yeah. I remember making full melt from it and with water, and it was absolutely, super, super oily, but I'd even cured it like with some heat in my shoes or pockets until it was really black, and it was like black. It was like opium almost. Like it really,
Oh,
really, and it looked good. And you'd even hit it, and it would be like, oh, that has a nice hashy taste. But it made my skin crawl. Like my face would get prickly, and
uh,
feel itchy. And I have like a bad reaction to big dose CBDs. I've tried taking a dab of CBDA before, and it was like, ugh, it just brought me back to that terrible feeling that I remembered from hitting the full melt CBD a long time ago. And I was like, ugh, my body, it's like kryptonite to me. My body
yep,
hates CBD, you know? It just hates it. I don't mind if it's like a tiny bit in the mix. It's okay. Like if the ratio is in favor of THC, but I do find the same that most CBD ones, they don't have a flavor that agrees with me as grass.
yep, yep,
Same, I don't even dig most Afghanica dominant stuff as grass either. But I love it as hash. So I just think, well, that's a hash plant, not a grass plant. Whereas you
yep,
get the fruit, ones with more character on their own, and especially the fruitier ones. I'm partial to. Not everybody loves them, but a lot of people do. The fruity candy ones, and
yep,
I wouldn't say that's all I care about, but it's certainly not something I see myself getting over, because I always enjoy, like, oh,
yep.
that's delicious. It's candy,
Totally agree.
I
Totally
still
agree.
love it. I know it's not cool, but I don't give a shit. I can appreciate a nice piney ones too, but I don't love the rotten meat ones so much. And those ones as grass, at least, I don't love them, but I might love them as hash, because I find
Yep,
that the flavor evolves once it's hash, especially if it's cured. So some of them that I don't like the primary upfront flavor aromas in the plant, they turn
yeah, it
into a
converts
hash
more
later
into
with,
those earthy tones.
yeah. Those earthy tones can evolve to be chocolate and leather and
Yep,
other things
yep,
later that are a little different. But you
yep.
don't, on the front end, I just find them too base, you know? Or I
At
like the
the end,
high
it's all about the
notes.
terps.
Yeah, well, the terps and the esters and, good Lord, all the volatiles that make it up. It's
Yep,
it's fun to go through them. I just say, after, starting in the West Coast, where indoor is a big thing, everything is Afghanica based, and for yield indoors, everything's Afghanica based. And then you can start chasing flavors that don't work great inside, like equatorial plants and stuff, and then you're like, well, I'm better off on the equator to do these, because who wants to grow 16-week pencils in their expensive hydro bill? It doesn't
let me just turn
doesn't
on the light
compute.
back there again.
Oh yeah, in the dark. So yeah, those cubicles look fresh and clean and ready to grow.
Yeah, we just cleaned up everything. We popped some seeds, like the one were like a week ago, and the other one's like 3 days ago. So they're just coming up, stretching their heads, and they're
Nice. Well, I don't know for sure, but I might head over to Europe this spring. So if I do, I'll be sure and
hit me
let you
up.
know. Are you going to ICBC,
Yes, I'm gonna
or
have a booth there,
are you?
cause
Super.
yeah, we got our seeds there, and then cause this year is the first time they got a grow space at ICBC, which is more like leaning towards the social clubs. So we're gonna at our booth we're gonna have like consulting services. Then we're gonna have our new machine lounge because we engineered a machine, like a hash washing machine for the home growers, but in stainless steel. It's like take a big one and shrink it down so it can use it for home use, and it looks
Hmm.
like just a shrunken big lab machine. And the people more and more dig into, they don't want to have plastic, they want to have cleanliness. So did that small machine, and the prototype, I'm just waiting for them to come. And that's something we're going to lounge at ICBC. And the new project is our medicals part, which is JD Biomed. And that's something that we're going to launch as well, because the first product will be in Germany within the first half of the year. It's like within the next 3 months, we're gonna have the first drop on the medical market.
Good for you. And you're a patient yourself in real terms, you know?
Yes, yes,
It's I know you've had your health challenges that you're looking right
yeah,
as rain today.
yeah. It's like as long as I'm sitting in a chair, because otherwise I got a lot of the since since we first met. Like half a year after that started when I was in more and more in the wheelchair. So it's like when I'm leaving the house at the moment, I've got my wheelchair on me. But inside of the house, thank God I don't need it.
Okay, super. Well, whatever makes you more comfortable is the right way to go. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yep.
Well, I look forward to seeing you if I can get over there, but whenever I get over, I'm
Yeah, let
giving
me
some
know. Cause like,
serious thought to popping over. I was invited to speak at ICBC, but I didn't commit to it. Now it's probably lost the spot because I didn't commit to it. I said I just can't
I gotta
decide.
be on the panel together with Marcus Bubbleman.
Okay, okay,
We're talking about we're gonna be on an extraction panel together.
yeah, well, that makes sense. Then there's Spanibus right afterwards. Are you heading down to that?
No,
And then after Spanibus,
Span.
there's a one in Czechia.
Yes, but it's a small like Mickey Mouse micro small
Is
thingy.
it really small? Yeah.
In
I
Czech,
just
the
know
only
it's the
one to
first.
go
It's the first
is
year they've got legal homegrown, so I figure. And seeds are
yes.
the only thing that's legal is seeds and homegrown. So I
Uh huh.
figure it's probably a good
But
time to get the seeds in there.
I'm just consulting a group, or I'm part of a group. We're planning a grow in Czech at the moment, which is going to be for medical, especially. And so I'm over there quite a lot. And it's yes, it got a little bit more, but that boom is missing. And the only really show to go in Czech is the Cannabis in Prague, end of the year. It's in November. And yes, that's one of the biggest and nicest shows I ever been.
Is
So
that
I like
right?
Prague. Really like it a lot. And so that's the one to go in and check. Then we got ICBC in Germany. Then we got the next one in Germany is of course Mary Jane, and we had roughly around 80,000 people there last year. So it's at the moment it's the greatest or the biggest cannabis show at the moment worldwide,
That's massive.
and
I remember
it's really
just seeing
massive.
online that like people couldn't get in even if they
Yeah,
had passes, even if they were exhibitors, because there was, somehow it got over capacity, and there was
that was
just,
the year before.
oh, was it? Yeah,
That was the year before. That was when they switched. That was the first year after legalization, and was the first show after legalization. And they changed the venue from small, tiny, more family location into that big halls, like into that massive one. And it started. They had a massive outdoor area as well, and then it started raining. So everything got into the halls, and it got kind of stuck, so that's when they stopped to let people in,
Ah,
just to be make
okay.
sure. And everybody ran into that one hall, so, and created a bottleneck even if there was space in the other halls. So they
Oh boy.
changed like the flow of the people. They changed that a little bit. They booked an extra hall to it, so now it's like even bigger. And they made the outdoor space, like I don't know how many times of that, with massive stages and concerts and everything going on. And like it was massive. It's like it was more like a festival than a show
Right. Yeah,
on
it
the
looked
out,
crazy.
and the outside was really festival ground, and inside was the show, so it was massive.
It's wild.
And so I'm wondering how it's going to be this year, because they really did a good job on it last year.
I've never been to Berlin either, or Prague. I've been to Bilbao and really liked it as a town.
Mm?
But
I
yeah,
don't think a lot of the people I know from the U.S. said they're not going over to Bilbao, and a lot of the people from Barcelona said, "No, we're passing on that." Even Masters of Rosin is not going to be there. They're doing Masters of Rosin in New York at the same time where the Cannabis in Bilbao is going to be this year. So I don't think that switch from Barcelona away to Bilbao will work, honestly. Especially not that Cannabis always was the biggest show in Europe and the only one that attracted like Canadians, US peeps, South American peeps, like people from all over the world. And with Berlin being that massive now, um, I don't think if it was good to leave that special club culture that you have in Barcelona that created the vibe around Spanibus, and taking it away from Barcelona and putting it over to Bilbao.
mm. I don't know if they had a choice. I thought they were closing that venue down.
The old
Yeah,
venue, yes, and they
I've
didn't get a
never,
new spot.
I never went to Spanibus before. I haven't
Mm,
been to Mary Jean. I haven't been going to conferences actually in a long time, or conferences slash exhibitions. I think the last one I went to was more a B2B conference rather than an exhibition,
mm,
which was Cannabis Europa in London. And that was
yeah,
probably 6 years ago or something like that, 5, 6 years ago. I can't remember. But
you have to come to ICBC. It's more like that's more like the business conference, and then you have to come in June when there's Mary Jane.
the thing is, I
Mary
hate to
Jane really
travel in
is
June
special.
because it's so nice here in June in BC. There's certain months I don't like to leave BC, and certain months I prefer to leave BC.
Mm,
But so most years I've managed in the last say 7 years or something to spend good chunk of the winter in more tropical climes. And this year I didn't need to, so I went away for like New Year's to the Caribbean, but I didn't have like months down south like I often do. But May, June, July, those are months I really like to be in BC. August,
hmm
I can take it or leave it because it's often very smoky. It can be smoky in June or July too. You don't
mm,
know. But May is usually gorgeous here and very comfortable temperatures. And then June and July, you start getting some warmth usually. June can be hit or miss. Sometimes we have January and it'll be like nicer in May than June. But anyway, yeah, it is. September's nice, October, I'm usually harvesting some flowers, so I like that too. But
yep.
I let it hang or bag it up until it's cold enough to sift it because I'm not big on trimming. So I'll trim up a bud or two while it's still fairly youthful and get it into jars. So I've got like an ounce of each one for flavor and rolling with, but I'll
Uh,
turn, 90% of it all into dry sift. And then that gives the joints a lift too, because you're so far north, it's tough to finish stuff properly,
yep.
at 50
Yeah.
degrees north and 500 meters above sea level. Unless I do light dep in the summer, of course, and then it's indistinguishable from indoor
Mm,
appearance
yep.
wise and
Yep. Yep.
everything. But I've got a
Same in
little trick.
Germany.
Yeah, it's the same in Germany, but I call it cheater outdoor because it doesn't get rained on. I've got it in pots around my pool, but before the rain comes in the fall, I pull it under my south facing deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then all day, because the sun's low in the sky, the sun comes under the deck, but they don't get rained on. So if I leave them until it snows and the snow blows in the wind, then they'll get snow on them. So,
Yep.
and I've seen that lots of times. I've left plants out there now till Valentine's Day. I kid you not.
Oh
So
wow.
it's crazy. Yeah, just for shits and giggles, really. To see. And I don't mind having some stuff that's oxidized to CBN because I like some of that soothing feeling sometimes, where it's
Yep.
more like a down than an up. A lot of people just want the fresh zippy up. That's fine. I like having both. It's like the yin and yang. Give me the
I like the
whitest of white and the
relaxing part a
blackest of
lot.
black. Yeah, me too. I think a lot of people, that's why they traditionally liked like red Lebanese and with a red oil and that cherry oil, is because it's already oxidized by the time you got it. It's converted to CBN, and it's more like a bit of more of an opiate like feeling rather than a wound up caffeinated feeling, which is, I find
Yeah, I
this,
love the red Lebanese back in the days. It's like I haven't seen that for a long, long
yeah,
time.
the blonde leb was the good stuff, and the red stuff was the shit that they couldn't sell the first year, so they, ended up sitting around until it got sold, and so it wasn't what they tend to smoke. They like their blonde, and their best stuff gets consumed, and the stuff that's not the greatest often sits there, right? But that red, I think, for like a lot of working people, when they came home from a long day of work with an achy body and then you get good sleep, get up early and do it again tomorrow, they like to just
Yep.
smoke some of the red oil or red leb and just get that melting feeling, and muscles all relax and loose, and you get a good sleep and they're ready to hit it again the next day. But it's like a nice, when you want to stretch out and relax kind of smoke. It's not what you want to smoke when you want to get out and dance. You want something a little more stimulating. Personal preference at the end of the day.
Yep. It's like with my ADHD, it's like it sometimes feels different or it works different on me. Some people that's oh man, it's like that's so extremely pushing me into the sofa. And I said, well, I can work pretty good on it.
Well,
Like
especially
especially
when you've
those.
got pain. Like painkillers don't intoxicate people
Yep.
with pain so much as the
Yep.
people that don't have pain that are taking them, because it's kind of like it uses up its momentum attacking the pain before you start to feel the effects so much. I don't know. I'm not a
Yep.
doctor,
And
but
those massive sativas, those uplifting ones, um, like I can't smoke them. It's like with my ADHD, it's like I would just breathe. I don't have any effect of it.
hmm. Oh,
It's
you were
like,
telling me that. You were telling me that last time we spoke. I forgot. Yeah, I really like them. They work for me, especially like daytime smokes, where
oh,
it gives me it's not incapacitating in any way, shape, or form, just more uplifting. And usually I find him very much a positive high. Like it makes me happy, a little more on the giggly side. And yeah, I do love the narrow leaf plants. I really do. And I think that's where there's also the most room for improvement from a breeding standpoint, because most of the resources that have been applied to cannabis breeding in the last 4 decades have probably been largely for indoor. And so that's made great leaps for those,
yep.
8-week hybrids. but it hasn't done much for the 16-20 week stuff. That stuff's still relatively I won't say untouched, but because it's all domesticated and we all stand on the shoulders of everybody before us that ever saved seeds. So these guys, but you can put a little more concerted effort into it, with a bit more
It's like
knowledge and
but
introducing
growing
other.
them indoors is like it's too expensive
Yeah.
because they take too long. Growing them outdoors
You go.
here or over in Canada, they take too long. So either it's too cold or the weather is shitty or it's too wet.
Well,
So
it's just
those
a
massive
transport question, because we don't grow oranges in Canada or Germany because it doesn't make sense. But if you want to bring up
Yep.
the quality narrowleaf from the equator, that's gotta happen. Like if we were confined to wine from Germany or wine from Canada, we'd be like, fuck this, I want to drink some Australian wine now or some Chilean wine or whatever.
Yep.
Having access to the flavors of the world is part of the culture of appreciation, and they all
That's
offer
what I
something
really
different.
love, and that's what I learned to love when it came like from the traditional market into the more industrial or professional side of the industry, and went to all those shows and like those cups and like meeting up with, and it had always been the same people, with other people out of the industry and other extractors, other growers, and like the interaction with them. That's something that changed a lot. And now in the last years, when it changed to a more and more database growing, and it's like that's like worldwide, you always see the same peeps.
Well, that was something nice about it. In the years where I used to go to the Cup in Amsterdam all the time, and it was like just starting over again with everybody that you saw last time.
Yep.
It was like having the same week over and over, like Groundhog Day a little bit. So,
Yep.
but it was funny because it was friends that you only saw at that event. Or there was a couple other ones the years I lived in Europe where I went to some in Germany, but they were ostensibly hemp things, right? They weren't
Mm.
cannabis things. But of course, lots of cannabis was consumed in the parking lots and stuff. But and in Holland, I remember going to High Life Cup in Utrecht one time. That was kind of neat. The but yeah, it's amazing to see that Germany's really taken the lead now in Europe. And because it's such a big sort of anchor country, let's say, of the EU, it really should accelerate the other ones. So it's exciting to see, but I know it's a long battle. But and there's
Yeah,
some
they're still trying to push it back again. Like the fight is not over yet.
no, I
We
realize, yeah,
just or the war is still ongoing. It's like, uh, they're arresting people like every other day.
who are some of the most effective activists and people in the government that are favorable?
In Germany,
Yeah.
it was from the SPD, and now we got the Christian parties back in there, and that makes it horrible. It's like because they want to turn back that law. So there's people like Carmen Vega. She was really fighting for it, and she's still in there in the parliament, and she's still fighting for it, and they're trying to push back on even on medical at the moment, like way more restrictions, no more telemedicine, no more delivery services from pharmacies with medical cannabis to the patient, and that's what they're trying to push away now. And but that's a thank God it's not working, because people like Carmen Vega and others are really going against it. So that doesn't happen.
Are there any activists that you want to give a shout out there to?
Well, kind of an activism. There were a few ones. One has just got arrested again. It's like but it's still an ongoing case, so I can't say anything about that at the moment. He's got arrested because and he shall be delivered out to Turkey because like they want to screw him on bring him to a Turkish judge. So hopefully he doesn't get sent over there. He's arrested in Germany at the moment, and yeah, there's a few people like Hanfkranz, which is one of the first grow shops or head shops in Germany. He's still doing a lot, and there's a former judge that is doing a lot. He's a good guy as well. So there's still a lot of people on it. I would love to have the German official ones more being involved and pushing a little bit more like the hemp ones and it's like sad that they're in the parliament sitting watching. They sometimes even have speaker time, but it's like they're not really moving something.
Do you know old German writer slash activist Hans Horgbear? Or do you know of him?
No, no.
Yeah, if you, yeah, it's worth looking him up. He was Hans Horgbear was his name, but he went by Hans Horgbear, of course. Bear
Okay.
being Behr. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's generations before us. Like I remember reading about him when I was like a teenager. He was like
Oh wow.
the guy that was leading one of the main proponents, let's say, in Germany. Interesting guy. Anyway, I remember reading about him a long time ago and thinking he was a fascinating dude because he was a poet kind of and more a literary figure, but also a cannabis advocate. Anyway, if you haven't heard of him, you'll probably enjoy looking him up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you have the German Hanfverband, which is like the German Hemp Association. They're supposed to do something, but honestly, there's not really things happening from their side. Yes, they're talking a lot, but I don't see them really being the ones moving something. There's like others in the background, like hustling more. You don't even see them, and like those official ones, it's like it's sad that they're like, I think they're tired from the fight that they fought before, and yeah.
It's getting discouraged. Morale is low.
Yep.
The pushback is really unfortunate. That sucks. What are some of the penalties Germans face for having more than the permitted amounts and whatnot?
Funny wise, I got an open case again. Because right after they raided the pharmacy I was working for, like one day after that, because of illegal hash production, which wasn't illegal because we had all the licenses, and we made rosin, and now there's Demican that came out with the rosin on the market. They don't have anything against us anymore because it's like everything was approved and the case still hasn't got dropped on the pharmacy side. And right one day after that, they came to my private house, and we had just 5 plants. So it was 3 were mine, 2 were my wife's. So that was okay. And then they looked how much flour we have, and they didn't um, take off our medical supply. So they just scaled it at once, and I was like 30 grams over the allowed amount, and my wife was like 20 grams over the allowed amount, and in total, um, they fined us with almost 10,000 euro, and so we're going against that. So that's going to be another court day in my life, and because we're going against it, because
10,000
after
euros, insane.
they came with a search warrant, and we were just about to go to one of the German medical cannabis importers because we had a meeting with them, and our son called me, "Hey, could you come back home?" I said, "Why? What's happening?" "Well, the police is here. They gotta have a search warrant. I have to let them in, and but it's better when you come home." I said, "Okay." My wife and I turned around, went back, and so they had a search warrant. They looked into everything, and at the end, they left me 50 grams as a personal supply of medicine, but they didn't take it off the list. So they wouldn't have anything against me if they would have deducted that from the 80 grams that they found.
Oh,
And then there wouldn't even have been a case because I was completely within the allowed amount, because I'm not risking my licenses for a few grams of flour. And then, and on my wife's side, they didn't even imagine her medical supply. They didn't leave her something. So they took everything, and they even took our trim that was not deducted at the end because it was declared as waste, but it was added to the complete amount of biomass that they found. So that's going to be funny at the court.
what a pain. I'm sorry to hear that, dude.
So, and another friend of mine, he had like 2 plants too much in Bavaria, and he got fined like for like 5,000 or something. So they're like they're pulling
They've got no
tremendous
sense
amount
of humor
of
about it.
fines. So that's not funny.
No,
And
that
they're
blows.
on the other end. If you look up to Berlin, Hamburg, or Cologne, and more than the northern part of Germany, and they're busting like massive grows at the moment, like on a daily base, was thousands of plants, um, and like they get probation usually.
Mm.
So it all depends on where you're living. In Bavaria, if you get busted with 1,000 plants, you're fucked. You're probably going to go to jail like for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I've heard Bavaria is the most uptight of the
Mm-hmm.
German states.
It's a
Sounds
nice
like,
place to live because of the landscape and everything,
yeah,
but it's not a nice place to live if you have anything to do with cannabis.
oh, that's a drag, man.
It's like Mordor of from Lord of the Rings. It's like the Mordor of Germany when it comes to cannabis.
How about the eastern side?
Eastern side, when it comes to Berlin, Berlin is special anyway, because like Berlin is not an example of what Germany is,
No, it's the
because they're like,
cosmopolitan city. It's like the
yeah,
Amsterdam of,
yep,
Germany.
yeah,
All of
yep,
Holland is in Amsterdam, that's for sure.
yep. So Berlin is great because they don't care.
Yeah.
They just don't care, and they're doing their thing. And the more and more it gets outside of Berlin, yes, they're busting grows there. When it comes to medical cannabis, the authorities are pretty good. That's why 2 of the official licensed grows in Germany are in Eastern Germany, in Sachsen, because when it comes to medical cannabis, Sachsen is pretty easy to handle when it comes to growing. So it's easy to get the licenses, and the cost of labor and all that in that area is still a little bit lower, and so it's a good place to grow. But from the political side, I don't want to live there. Like, you have the AFD, which is more like the not conservative Christian, like the other ones. They're more like conservative racists, and it's like
Not pretty.
that's what you got a lot over there, and that's something. That's why I never want to live there.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't know much about on the ground in Germany, the different regions, what the politics are like. I would have no idea. So good to know.
What I really like is more like the part of NRW, also North Rhine-Westphalia, which is more the north side when it comes right to the border of Netherlands. They're pretty easy up there.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, it's a different place for me. I've been through Germany number of times over the years. Like the first time when I was like 18, but I've never spent a lot of time there. I've always been like 2-3 days.
Passing through.
Yeah, just check it out one town at a time kind of thing. And I remember I had fun in Heidelberg. I liked
Mm-hmm.
Heidelberg. I smoked a joint there with some locals. That was
It's about
that was when I was
one
18,
and a
man.
half
That
hours
was a
away from me.
that was a long time ago. And I love good wine, so I like the following the nice Rieslings would be fun for me. I
Yeah, that's when you have to go more towards Hessen,
okay.
Rheingau. They have the nicest Rieslings.
Yeah.
And Würzburg, the place where I live and or was grown up and living again, it's one of the best wine regions in Germany. It's like, um, fun fact and side story is like, I was graduating as a chef, and then I did my master in bartending back in the days. So when I went to bartending school, our teachers, like, he was founder of the German Sommelier Association back in the days. So, and he was our teacher, and then he was, as coming from Würzburg, said, "Oh well, in our next wine seminar, I'm gonna bring something special, especially for you, because you're from Würzburg." I said, "Okay, yeah." And then he brought a wine which is in a special kind of bottle, which is more like 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 that, instead of like a straight bottle. It's more like a flask,
Yeah.
and it's called Boxbeutel, like punching bag. And with that, it was the from the marriage of Diana and Charles. It was their marriage wine that came from
Wow.
Würzburg, and
Neat.
he had a few bottles of it.
That's super
So he
cool.
brought it to that seminar, and we had a chance to try it. It was special. It
That's
really was
cool. Yeah, I
special. It
bet.
was a
I bet.
really nice wine.
Yeah, they could have any wine they wanted for their wedding.
Yep.
Literally, they must have liked that one. That's something
So yeah, it's really a old traditional city.
neat.
Um, we have a river going through the middle of the city, and it's all about vineyards surrounding like the whole area.
Cool. Well, that sounds like it's worth a visit.
Definitely. So when you're coming to ICBC or Mary Jane, we're gonna meet in Berlin. We're gonna have some fun in Berlin together, and after that, we have to take a tour through Germany. I have to take you down to our spot, bring you over to Düsseldorf, where we are starting our new project from the medical side, and then bring you over to Czech when we're working on that Czech project and like take a tour to Germany together, to down to Munich, to the pharmacy that I worked for with the hash lab in the basement.
Right. Oh, that'd be cool. You'd be the guy to see it with, man. So, for sure. Is there anything else we should touch on?
Next time when we meet,
All right.
we have a lot of stuff to touch on because probably it's going to no ICBC is already in April. I don't think I'm gonna make it before April, but if you're not coming to ICBC and you're coming in June for Mary Jane, because you have to see that one. You really have.
Yeah,
You're not
that's the
coming this
one.
year. You
If
have
you
to
had to
come next
pick
year.
one, you'd go to that one?
Yep.
Okay.
And then before June, I'm gonna be over in BC because I have to do an audit with a few suppliers there because I'm still looking for some good suppliers for the medical market. So
All right.
I'm going to show you
I'll bear
Berlin
that
and
in
you're going to
mind.
show me BC.
Sure. Yeah. If you're getting over here, plan on coming for a visit. And like I said, June's hit or miss. It can be absolutely dynamite weather. When we had some ridiculous hot weather the one year, it was, I forget what year it was, maybe 3 summers ago. And in June, in my backyard, it got up to 47.
Oh, wow.
In the province, it got up to 49 something in Lytton, I think. And the next day, the town burned down. A train went through and sparks came off the train and just set the town on fire, and the whole place burned down. But it was so hot, it was almost 50 degrees, but in my yard, in the shade where I had, proper thermometer, it was 47. It was crazy hot, dude. So June, you can be that, or it might be 15 and raining. You don't know for sure. So you can, depends when you get here.
Last year, right, and in week 3 of flowering outdoor, and it changes late here in Germany. It changes in August, like mid of August. So you have to go into Croptober. And last year in July, it started to get rainy and more cold. And then like in September, the temperatures dropped to 17 degrees and just raining like 6 weeks.
No fun. Anyways, I should let you get going. Thanks a lot for your time, man. It's been great catching up, and we'll stay in touch and talk to you soon. I'm sure we've got more to talk
Thanks for
about.
having me.
Hey, dude, it was a pleasure. You were the number one, and I thought, who should I talk to in Germany that knows what's going on and speaks great English? It has to be you. So,
yeah, being native speaker makes it easier.
I think most of the people that are listening are in the States. Like 90% or over 90%, I think, are in the States, and probably most of them English as a first language. And I think they can probably understand your accent. Because when I first met you, I just assumed you were American, and you're like, actually, no, I live in Germany most of my life. Oh,
no, it's like, that's why I'm sometimes missing English words, because born and grown up here in Germany, and like I was living over in the US like 1 year of my life. And yes, I got a brother, still got a brother over in the US. I got a lot of relatives over on the East Coast, like roughly around 120 people with cousins and a lot of that. But some of them I haven't even met my whole life. So I wasn't living in Germany most of my life, but still, yes, native tongue.
Right on, man. Well, great. It's been great chatting with you. Have yourself a wonderful evening, and we'll talk soon, brother.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.